2023. Can I have a motion to open the hearing?
So moved.
So moved.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we have two pending decisions.
Wait, what is Michael Sendlensky in our,
Just to share his screen, but he's present in person.
okay, thank you.
We have two pending decisions, neither of which are ready for issuance. The first pending decision is case number 314544 Hillcrest Lane. Julia, did you have some questions about that we want to address this evening?
I did have a few questions that are a direct result of the garage now being moved. And I also had some questions, actually, that we've never gotten to about the dimensions of the pool in relationship to the main house. And if in fact we have come to an understanding of what the entrance will be for the property, as well as if we've discussed any covenants as a result of the garage now not being there.
So just so the just so the record's clear, I believe the board members had received correspondence from the applicant withdrawing one of the portions of the original application, which had been for the installation of a garage and pool house. If there are additional questions, perhaps given that amendment, if there's a motion to reopen for the purpose of those questions being addressed.
Okay,
So moved.
I'll motion to reopen case number 314544 Hillcrest Lane. Can I have a second?
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
And I believe the applicants are here.
Trying.
Who was that talking?
Hold on, I'm trying to get this up.
It has more than one device.
But Chairman, I do just, I'll wait until that's fixed. So before going for, I just want to see if anybody's here on behalf of 44 Hillcrest, because I know they were appearing by counsel before.
There are people here. There's two hands up. There's Steven Skaranek and Denise Schoen. They're both on Zoom. Need to be brought in.
And Denise?
Shown.
Denise,
Good evening, board. Good evening.
how are you, Denise? Denise, do you have a site plan that will show the pool and the access?
We don't have it back yet from the surveyor. We asked the surveyor to take the pool or the garage off of the map and also the, take that entry off, but we haven't gotten the revised map back.
Weren't there, how about the parking? Weren't we left with that? How many parking spaces you have to get? How you're gonna get there?
I think the issue last time was whether we were going to have two access points, parking on both sides of the property. But now that we've eliminated the garage on that side, the driveway will remain on the Hillcrest side, and there won't be a new driveway on the other side of the through lot. So there'll just be one driveway with the existing parking as you see it today in the front of the property.
Does not have enough parking spaces, is that right?
I'm sorry, Stephen, how many parking spaces do you have there?
Two.
Do you fit
cars.
two cars? Okay.
Well,
And then recently,
Denise, can we do this
Go ahead.
with a survey or a site plan, even if it's a survey or site plan that does not show the removal of the garage?
let's see. know honestly if I can share, for some reason I can't share. Alex, do you have anything on your computer that you could pull up for the board survey, old survey, or?
I'm sorry, are you looking for the survey that was submitted with your application?
Just, I think the chairman just wants to see a general image of the project, so we can talk about it specifically at the screen.
So yes, Alex, the survey submitted with the project would be helpful.
Okay, I'm trying to pull that up. I'm sorry, my internet connection is a little unstable this evening.
That's my issue too.
Let me see if, I'm gonna try and do this from my computer and you'll let me know if you're able to see this.
It's pretty old, but
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's the most up-to-date.
Mark. This was the
Or-
first.
Yeah,
I can see
Then
it.
it became just strictly rec.
we can see it perfectly, thank you.
Great, and this, the file is dated, 12/01/2010.
Okay, great. So we've asked the surveyor to remove the proposed garage that you see on the Miller Lane side, and that driveway, obviously, that would go up to the garage, and to leave the pool where it is, and essentially just eliminate the portion of the project that extends beyond, between the pool and Miller.
So
there's parking
Denise, are you
that's
saying that,
there.
are you saying that you would not need the access, the garage that's shown there coming, coming off of Miller?
That's right.
The question then is, if you eliminate that access, does the property have enough parking?
Enough parking. I don't, so they were recently issued a new C of O, and so I don't know if it was based on the parking just in the front, or if they assigned a parking space in the back. I think I'd have to ask the chief building inspector how he calculated it.
So the question would be, when we're approving the pool, are we approving a site plan that eliminates access from Miller Road? And
You
eliminates this parking area?
That's correct.
So that's what the board would like to see, is the survey showing the pool and the eliminated garage, which would be what we would be approving.
Got it. Totally understood.
And,
And that's
and,
what we've
and
requested.
cars, the required parking spots,
Oh, and delineate the required parking spots?
please.
Okay. Got it.
Denise, I'm sorry, when you said this recently got a CO, was the work that generated that CO?
I think it was just the acquisition of the property. It
Yes,
was,
yeah.
well, and then they remodeled, they did remodel, but I don't know if the remodeling was, more aesthetic or if it was building permit required, but they're on the line, so they can answer that for you. Stephen, did you get an updated CO when you renovated, or?
It wasn't much of a renovation, it was mostly painting and aesthetic, as you said. And
Okay.
we purchased the house without the CO,
Okay.
and so it was our responsibility to get one after we closed, so that's what we did.
Gotcha.
But Denise, just so I understand clearly, it would be,
Yes.
it would be the applicant's plan to close off this access from Miller Road as long as it's code compliant with respect to parking.
Correct.
Okay, so that would be
Yes,
great if we could see
yeah.
that. So should we just adjourn pending receipt? So I'll motion to,
Wait, how
sorry.
about, in terms of, so now we have no building shielding the pool from Miller Place? And I was hoping that we could put in some requirements for some kind of landscaping to make it not so obvious from Miller Place.
Perimeter landscaping.
I don't know, could be by the pool, once this whole thing is gone, it could be nearer to the pool. It would just be that the view from Miller Place would not be a lawn and a giant swimming pool. I don't think that's such a good thing for the neighborhood. If we allow them a pool, I think there should be some sense that we're not, people driving or living on Miller Place will not just be gazing at a giant pool.
Grading
And
landscape.
the applicants are amenable to that, absolutely.
Well, how is that handled? I mean, it has to be written, just saying,
You-
okay.
It's,
We've
well,
learned
it's
that
a-
saying okay isn't so great, so it's gotta be written down somewhere, or a landscaping plan, just
So,
for the purpose of screening the pool, for instance.
Yeah, just include it on the survey if you could, whatever landscaping will shield the
That
pool.
would be good.
okay, we'll do
Okay,
that.
as long as you have to do it, I mean, let's not do it 7 times, I
Yeah,
also
absolutely.
find, I would like to say that I do find that looking at the size of the pool and the size of the house, the pool is enormous and, almost, it's more than half the size of the house, is that correct? Yes. So you could move the pool into the structure if you put it over, and it would be, I don't know, I can't read all the numbers, but 24, it just seems extra large to me.
It's not even a lap pool length.
What does that mean?
It means that if you had a tennis court in your backyard and somebody said it looked enormous, it would mean that it's,
Yes, but it isn't, I'm talking about pools, not tennis courts.
right.
But
so
it's-
Is
the
it
concept-
longer than a standard pool?
It's not longer than a standard pool, particularly not in this neighborhood.
No.
It's
So-
not larger,
So there's,
yeah, go ahead, Steve, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
so, so part of what we wanted to do was to make sure that you're able to try to swim laps in the pool.
Fine.
It's not an outdoor, like, bathtub. It's to do, like, physical activity and,
Right, and the lot is, the
And-
lot is definitely big enough to have the pool on it. We're well under coverage, especially after eliminating the garage.
Denise, is the pool going to stay in the exact same location once the garage is removed off the survey?
That's the proposal, unless anyone has any, comments to that.
No, that's the better location, we just didn't know if you were gonna
Okay,
move it closer to Miller
No.
Road, but you're gonna leave it where it is?
yes, yeah, that's the idea. Just literally, like I said, just taking off that, sort of bottom third of the site plan, removing that except for the septic, and leaving the pool where it is. And definitely intent on screening, no doubt about that.
Let's also just show the pool equipment on the survey.
Sure. Yeah, it was originally in the garage, but we'll have to find another location for it.
Do any board members have any other questions?
No, I'll look forward to seeing the new survey.
Julia, do you have any other questions? What I was gonna do was just adjourn pending receipt of the revised survey, showing the access, the removal of the garage, and perimeter landscaping, or landscaping that reduces the visibility of the pool from Miller Road.
Understood.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to clarify for any members of the public that may be on that, this is not being reopened for public comment?
No, just reopened, if we can, Jeffrey, just reopened for purposes of adjusting the survey.
these were just questions following the amendment. If it's being put over in any event, the board could allow public comment on the next night prior to going to decision.
Sure, I don't want to foreclose public comment, and not that
To allow
there's
people to
been.
respond
Sure,
if they wish.
sure. Okay, so we'll adjourn for all purposes.
Is there anything
Okay, so,
on that tonight?
is anybody here, wishing from the public to speak to, application 314544 Hillcrest Lane. Okay,
Go ahead.
okay, so, let's just adjourn for all purposes, case number 314544 Hillcrest Lane, and, Denise, you know what we need.
I do. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
Thank
Do
you.
I have a second?
Have a good night.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So we are also, we have a pending decision, 370 Great Plains Lane, that we're almost finished with, but we also do not have our...
Road, Great Plains Road. Let's do it right.
It's still, sorry, it's written as Great Plains Lane on the agenda, I apologize. 370 Great Plains Road. Our environmental consultant is not here to speak to the wetlands permit that he drafted, so we'll just wait for his return. Otherwise, I think we have everything we need as far as a recordable covenant, and the board should review the proposed decision, and, we can discuss that at the next meeting. So I don't think there's any action we need to take on this.
I would ask if there's a motion to carry that over for decision to the next meeting of the board.
Okay, so a motion to carry over case number 3132, 370 Great Plains, carried over for decision to the next meeting. Can I have a second?
Second that.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have case number 3144, Stephen Hickey, which was adjourned to our last meeting in March 2023. I don't think we need any further
I
action
think,
there.
that's just pending renotice, so if that could be.
No, I was referring to 3144, Stephen Hickey,
Oh, my
where we
apologies.
already accepted the adjournment to the last meeting in March 2023.
No,
at our
there's no
last
action to be taken.
So we'll go in case number 3147. The board, in the case of Andrew Fleiss, 64 Down East Lane, is just acknowledging that the application is pending renotice to the next possible date.
Yes.
Do we need to motion that, or just
No,
acknowledge?
that's pending renotice, but just for the purposes of the record, should anyone be here for that, matter will be added at the next available meeting to the board. The building department had so advised.
With respect to case number 3146, 71 Hill Street LLC, the board does need to accept the applicant's request to adjourn to March 14th, 2023. Do I have a second to accept the applicant's request to adjourn to March 14th, 2023 in the case of 71 Hill Street, case number 3146?
Second.
Second.
Second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So we'll move on to new cases. The first new case is case number 3152, 125 Burnett Street. Is the applicant here, or the applicant's representative?
Now, I was told I was supposed to present myself. Is that true, or? Okay.
That's correct. Thanks, Lisa.
That's it?
Alex.
Thank you. I've just been provided with the mailing receipts, the affidavit of posting, and affidavit of mailing, which I'll put in the file.
I don't have documents for this case.
They were in the prior.
Well, I have a folder and no documents, all right.
It's in the Dropbox, Susan, if you're able to access that. How are you, Lisa, by the way?
I'm okay. How are you?
Good.
Whenever you're ready, Lisa.
I'm waiting to be promoted. Let's see if I can. I am promoted. Now I need to share my screen. Okay. Okay. So Lisa Zaloga, I'm the architect for the applicant. The property is located, as we said, at 125 Burnett Street. The lot is just over 6,000 square feet, backs up to the Southampton School District. There's an existing 1-story, 1.5-story. There's actually no space, living space on the second floor. It's just attic. But 1.5-story house and a garage. The goal is to add a second floor on the rear of the house. And the issue that brings us here is that the existing house is 22.2 feet from the rear property line that abuts the school district. So in doing my addition and lining my walls up on the rear of the property, you can see this dotted line that kind of comes across here. That's actually the 25-foot setback that is required for this size property. So the hatched-in area that you see is actually where the habitable space is above, and it's a total of about 30 square feet on the rear of the house that is going to be non-conforming based on our setbacks. So it's a 2.8 foot variance where 25 is required for 30 square feet of addition. The other addition that we're talking about is this little addition on the street side of the house that we need to locate our stair to get up to the second floor. And that is a total of 25 square feet. Now, in terms of lot coverage, our lot coverage, when calculated at the 14% plus the 1,500, we're under that. However, there's a addendum to that says, but you can be no more than 30% of the lot area. So the property is already over that 30% number. And so that our 25 square feet, of course, is over that as well. So we're currently, it's currently about 330 square feet over. So I'm asking for that as well. And I can show you the plans if you want, the elevations, but that's the general idea.
Lisa, on the north side. Yeah, okay, so the bold line is the perimeter of the existing structure.
Correct.
Right, so
Yes.
you're not actually extending further north, you're just building on top of what is already there.
Yes, here I can show you, if I give you, if I can get to it, I can't get to it because the thing is in the middle. Nope.
I think you
there we
lost
go.
your screen sharing, Lisa.
Oh, did I? That's not good.
Well, I don't know, all I know is it was there and now it's gone.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Then I'm not sure how to get that back.
Start to share again.
Yeah.
Jeffrey, the lot coverage variance
It's
wasn't
not on the
noticed.
denial. That's what I'm just checking. I'm sending a text to Alex right now. I don't see it on the denial.
Yeah, you can see on
Yeah.
sheet A4, Lisa, that you're not extending.
Yeah, I'm
Past
not.
the
But and it
house.
has a line on it as to where that setback is. That's what I was trying to get
Yeah,
to.
yeah, and you're well under the pyramid on that.
Yes, I'm under
Yeah.
the pyramid. I'm, and you can see the setback. And I held the dormer back so that that's not part of the application. It's really just the gable,
Cool.
the gable edge.
Do you have an aerial showing what's to the north?
No. I mean,
Cool, isn't it?
I could get there Google-wise, but I
Yeah,
don't.
Google-wise is fine. Or Alex, can you do that? Show us what's to the north?
Yes, I can.
It's the school parking lot. You want me to stop sharing? Oh.
Lisa, have any of the neighbors to the east or west weighed in with you either way?
No. And I know I originally did the house to the east, so I know them. Nobody reached out.
Okay.
Is he finding it?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right
Oh,
now.
okay.
Hopefully this is clear to the board.
So that's a parking lot?
Yes, that's the parking lot that goes along the south edge of the school,
Mhm.
of the elementary school.
Okay, thanks.
And then the property to the east, that's their parking court,
Yes.
right there, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Prime real estate there.
Yeah, they got a big lot for that
If
street.
that's what it is, I don't have a problem there.
The only question, Chairman?
Yeah, we don't know that you've requested a variance for lot coverage. It's not noticed.
Did in my letter and on the application.
That's not,
Yeah, Lisa, it wasn't included as part of the some of the paperwork that was on there, so it wasn't reflected on the denial and the notice.
that's the denial.
What does that mean?
It just means that we would probably just have to renotice it for 2 requests if that's what the applicant is
That may
seeking.
be, but I'm just going off the denial and what they noticed.
Is it different from what she originally?
I didn't fill that out, so.
Yeah, no, I'm.
Okay. What's that?
Wasn't that part of your application or not?
I thought it was, but I mean, if we have to, I mean, it's in my letter and it's written on the application.
Yeah.
I
It's
just,
difficult for us to say, Alex, because the application isn't in the Dropbox.
Gotcha, yeah, it looks like the application would have been part of your packets.
It needs to go in the Dropbox.
But the concern I have is if it's not, if it wasn't noticed that way.
that was, it was in my
No, no.
All right, so can we still talk about it though?
Of course, yes.
I don't see that there's anything really that bad in this, personally. And
Thanks.
usually I do, I never think that.
But it would still need to be renoticed.
Yes, we
Okay.
still need to renotice.
That's a
Yes.
different issue though, I mean, really.
No, I understand that.
Julia, do you have any questions? Julia?
Julia, you're on mute.
Thanks. I'm trying to get my bearings based on looking at the schematics because at least last month when we went to pick up our packages, your materials were there, so I haven't given them fresh eyes. So I'm just trying to orient myself to where the additions are when I'm looking at Alex's aerial from here. So it's in the back? If
Yes,
you're putting story?
correct.
And left of what we're looking at on the screen is where the addition would be?
You see the area that is like a black roof port? Yes,
Yeah.
that's where the addition that's where the addition goes, correct.
Okay, I get it now.
Oh, wait, there's 2 additions. One's in the
Right.
back.
Yes, but it's also just into the front of that, yep. Right where
Well,
Alex is showing
I'm
that
just
now.
not sure for the notice purposes. I think only the rear addition was noticed.
That's correct.
Okay,
So we'll redo that.
Are there any neighbors
Not
here
that
to
there's a
talk
problem
about
with it, it's just
yeah, no,
getting
I
proper
realize.
notice.
And Lisa, when you come in to pick up the new notice, you'll give us a digital copy of your application?
Okay. You mean what I gave you before? In the Dropbox or?
It looks like the Dropbox, I didn't see the application material
Oh,
there.
okay.
It looked like there, but the actual.
Oh, okay, the
application
digital,
form.
yes, okay, correct. Yep, sure.
I don't have any questions at this time. I'm interested if any of the neighbors are here tonight.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
We were noticed.
Where do you guys want to speak on it?
Yes, I would say just a quick word.
Okay. Lisa, are you
Go
done?
ahead.
I'm out.
Thank you. Come on up.
Okay.
You do need to, yeah, you do need to speak at the podium and identify
Please
yourselves.
introduce
Yeah,
yourself.
sure. So my name is Rafael Russo. I'm a neighbor, and I was noticed. Look, I realize that these are relatively modest. A variance is being requested, but Burnett Street is a lot of small lots and historically a lot of smaller homes. There's been a lot of overbuilding on Burnett, and it really does affect the neighborhood. So I would just urge the commission to consider very carefully, and I don't want to paint your project with the same brush as everything else going on Burnett Street, but it is a concern amongst many of the neighbors. And I think we feel like some of the decisions that have been made in the past have not necessarily been for the better.
Okay.
Where's
Are you
your house?
119?
My house is to the south, if you want to scroll down, or zoom out. Yeah, so, okay, so, well, I can point to the screen, but,
What is your address?
You're on the other,
It's 115 Meeting House, which is right here.
okay. So you're on the other side of the street.
Yeah, I'm on the other side of the street.
What is that?
But as
big-
you can see, there's been a lot of activity on Burnett.
What is that big?
Yeah, you can
What is that
see construction on a couple of
Yeah.
lots.
Yeah,
What is that big excavation site?
that's 124, yeah. Which I
Lisa,
would have,
maybe
which
so we
I would
can
have
get
thought
it.
was something you guys have been focusing on.
Maybe if we could get, for a sense of scale, Lisa, just a GFA chart, just showing how far or how near you are to the max allowable.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
Thank-
124 is in front of the Architecture Review Board, but it didn't come to us for variances,
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
or not yet.
So the notion that 124 is overbuilding is, the fact is, it must be allowed, correct?
We don't know yet. It is before the Architecture Review Board, I know
Would have come
that.
to us first, I would think. Never mind.
Julia, do you have any other questions? I think we're gonna adjourn for all purposes
I think
anyway,
we
because
have.
we need to renotice.
Did you want to say anything as well?
Yeah.
Come on
Sorry,
up.
Go ahead, no, please.
Hi, everyone. My name is Richard Naub. I'm at 127 Meeting House. So next door to Ray, catty corner to the excavation site right now.
Mm.
I would echo Ray's sentiment. Burnett's a really cute street, and immediately behind our house is, you can see a pool and a house. We love our property, but if you see our neighbor's house, I mean, people comment, even with the high hedge, it just so dominates the experience of the neighborhood.
Mm.
And I think, when you continue having these houses, we get these kind of variances, it does really impact the neighborhood. Don't really quite know what's going on at the excavation lot, but it is a concern because it's a very nice area, and seeing some of these overbuilt houses on relatively small lots is unfortunate. And I can tell you, the neighbor's pool is like right up against the property line. It's just kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is, and we knew it when we bought the property, so. But it is definitely an experience as someone that participates in the community.
But is there anything about this particular expansion at 125 Burnett Street that seems to come under the category of overbuilding?
I can't say I fully understand it, but I see some stuff with the boundaries getting expanded. I think it's on, generally I would like to see homes stay more within the footprints of what's permitted within the code instead of getting so many variances, because I think there is some abuse in the community of overbuilding.
Mm.
And I think it's just kind of a trend as you see Southampton Village.
In this case,
Agreed.
it's going up. It's not going out, except for like.
Well, I understand, but I can tell you from someone with a up house immediately behind us, it's noticeable.
But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the one that's, I don't know.
I can tell you my shared experience of looking at a house that's built up too high. It is noticeable from the neighborhood.
Yeah. Well, Lisa,
Okay, that's
maybe
fine.
do you want to respond about your house specifically?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
No
Thank you.
So I just wanted to touch on it a little bit. So the existing house like I said, it's a 1.5-story house, if you will. The attic space only has a ridge that's 7'5" above the floor, which does not meet, I can't get habitable space up there in any way, shape, or form without potentially raising the roof line, which we were trying not to do, so that from the street, the house would maintain its little charming look and not actually become a big 2-story structure. So that the goal there was to actually try to maintain that. The existing ridge line of the house is at 19.3, and our addition goes to 22 feet. So we've kept it at the back of the house so that it doesn't change that roof line, because I could put a second floor on this house. I'm well under my GFA,
Right.
but I would have to rip off the roof and rebuild, and it would change the whole look of the character of the house. So I'm asking for the variance to try to keep it the way it looks.
I think if you're able to pull up sheet A2.
Uh-huh. You want me to?
That may illustrate your point.
Which one is this? Let's say 3. This is west. Which one were you referring to?
South.
So. Right. So, that's the existing elevation, and it's 19 feet tall. Our addition is you can see on the lower level. The goal was to keep it so that it doesn't have an impact on the street.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the goal. I could in fact do a second floor on the house and totally change the whole character of it without coming for a variance. I came
Right.
for the variance to keep it the way it looks.
Yep.
And that's his goal as well.
Got it.
And that's your pyramid line there.
And that's the pyramid line, yes.
So you're well within the pyramid as well.
I'm well within the pyramid law. And you were asking about the gross floor area number. The first floor of the house has a footprint of 1,260 square feet. The maximum gross floor area for the house, for the property, would be 2,104 square feet. The addition, the total square footage of the addition is 464 square feet and 25 square feet, first and second floors. But being that it's all under the roof line like that, it's considered a 1.5-story house, and you only count a very small percentage of that towards
the
the gross
sliver
floor
under the
area.
ridge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and again, my ridge height barely gets me a 7.5-foot high ceiling. So
Mhm.
I'm not higher than 8 feet in the middle of my ridge. So
And you're still under 1,800.
oh,
Yeah,
I'm
you're
well,
probably only
yeah, no, I mean, I'm well,
65% or so of your allowable
Yeah.
GFA.
yeah, if that. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not, and the goal is just, it's currently a 2-bedroom house. We're going to try and maintain it as a 2-bedroom house. He's just trying to, get a little bit better master bedroom suite and stuff on the first floor and put another bedroom on the second floor.
Okay, cool. So it sounds like we just need clarity on what additional, if any, variances are needed, Mark?
Yeah, well, and it has to be renoticed.
Yeah.
I mean, that's,
Right, it would just be the renoticing, right? There's no other variances other than the 2 I asked for.
Okay.
right.
Or I didn't ask for, however you want to look at it.
Absolutely, just asked for them, but they're not on our
Yes,
thing,
I asked for
so-
2, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
only
yeah.
got to ask for 1.
With that explanation, I think it actually does look very nice. So,
Thanks.
thank you.
Thanks for coming down, though.
I think the point is, yes, I appreciate it. I appreciate what you're doing. I think the point is just, the neighborhood is gonna be very vigilant about any variances on Vernon Street.
That's good.
I'm sorry, if somebody's
Appreciate
speaking,
your
please
time
speak.
and giving us the-
Oh, yeah, you're supposed to.
Is he still speaking? I don't know.
Yeah, not so much. We're,
Thank you.
do you have any questions, Joyce?
No, I mean, I don't think so. I'm personally sensitive to these height issues, in, such a, neighborhood as this. And just, and you're well within the pyramid, law, so, it looks like a minimal ask. And you're keeping in the, you know, nature of the architecturally of the home, which I think is good.
Thank you.
I think, you know, if there weren't a parking lot behind it, we might have another discussion, but that's what's there. So I actually think it's pretty sensitive and well thought out. I do.
Thank you.
Okay, so how do we do this?
So is there then a motion to carry this over for renotices to the?
Okay, so I'll motion to carry over case number 3152-125 Burnett Street for renotice. Can I have a second?
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
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 What meeting will that be?
I think.
Lisa, we'll talk about the meeting schedule at the end, and we'll let you know. We'll put it on to the next available that we can do a publication for.
Okay.
So moving on, we have a new case number 3153, Smithtown Partners, 40 Meadow Lane.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
I can't hear the applicant.
They haven't
I-
started.
we haven't-
started.
They haven't started.
Just,
He's doing his warm-up stretches.
it's gonna take me a long time to stretch. I don't think that's happened in a while. Do you need me to share my screen?
If you could, yes.
Could I have your name for the record, please?
Oh, sure. For the applicant, Michael Sinlensky, 860 Montauk Highway, Watermill, New York, 11976, for the applicant Smithtown Partners. Good evening, everyone. I thought I just shared the screen. Good evening. Well, it's good to be here in person. The board is aware of this application. We had a previous application in front of the board, and we withdrew it because the board made it clear they wanted us to go back to the drawing board. So we've done that. We've gone back, and to then we've taken the board's comments to heart. And to that end, we've added John David Rose to our team as a consultant to take a fresh look at the project and to look at ways to reduce and minimize the impact of the project as much as possible. So for any project, we have a goal, and the goal here is we have a 2.5 level home. The owner of the property is 81 years old, and docs have advised him to limit his traversing of stairs as much as possible. To that end, we've reduced the number of variances that we required to 3. And it's a height variance for the front gable from 53 feet to 53 feet, which basically it's maintaining the height gable at the same exact height. It's just sliding it forward a little bit less than 3 feet. Then there is a pyramid variance for the dormer, and then there is a pyramid variance for the gable. We've been able to reduce and eliminate 2 height variances that we previously asked for. And we're currently looking for 1,075 cubic feet for the west dormer and 590 cubic feet for the north gable. And then again, as I said, the 53 feet to 53 feet maximum height of the front gable. So I can walk the board through an analysis. So here on page 1, what I'm showing is on the left-hand side is the existing elevations. In the middle is what we previously proposed with, you'll see that there's 2 dormer areas on either side. And then on the right is what we're currently proposing, which eliminates any dormer on the left-hand side and limits all construction to the right-hand side of the current structure. These are some visuals of the current condition. You'll see that it's heavily shielded from the road when you're looking, and then when you come to the parking lot area, there's a full face-on. So when we're talking about the front gable, we're talking about the pyramid shape in the middle. That's sliding forward, and then we're tucking the elevator in behind the move forward front gable to allow access to all 3 levels, 2.5 levels of the property. As you see from the survey, we're moving forward from 83.2 feet to 80.01 feet. So it's a little, pardon me, I said a little less than 3 feet, I meant a little bit more than 3 feet. Oops, sorry. This is the existing elevation of the front house. This is, you'll see the current house currently is a pre-existing non-conforming house. The 33-degree pyramid law was added after this house was built. And you'll see where that runs through the house. Currently, this is the east elevation. This is the west elevation, and you'll see that line runs through the house currently as it currently exists. The total.
Wait, I don't, let me just hold you up for 1 second.
Sure.
What was the change in the law with respect to the pyramid law that caused the?
It's the 33. It's the 33-degree. It's a 33-degree pyramid law that was added for FEMA lots on narrow FEMA lots.
Which were what defined as under 100 feet, or 100 feet or under?
I believe that's the case. It deals with the width of the lot.
And previously it was 45 degrees?
45 degree, yes.
Okay. So after the house was built, they reduced the pyramid law relief from 45 to 33.
For this specific lot where
Right.
you have a FEMA elevations, flood elevation zone, as well as it's considered a narrow lot.
Okay.
So there's really no change to the south elevation. And I'm going to just move forward here to actually the front proposal. So the east side, we're not making any change any longer to the east side. We've removed that whole dormer and all the construction on that side. And it just leaves us with the change to the west side, where we have now, we still have the dormer, but we've reduced the height of the dormer to 46 feet, which therefore reduces the need from 46.2, it reduces the need for variance relief for height for that portion of the dormer. As you can see, that we still need pyramid relief for that portion that runs up the side of the building, and that amounts to 1,075 cubic feet for the dormer, and then 590 cubic feet for the area that's filled in by moving the gable forward 3 feet. One of the other key aspects of what we've done in order to try to minimize this is we also changed the composition of the dormer material. We originally had used the zinc material that matches the roof, and through our consultation in bringing in John David Rose, he suggested and brought to us, and he can speak to this, that to limit the impact and to soften the impact, matching glass would make it a less impact and make it blend in better. So that is what we're currently proposing to the board in order to do that. And David, you want to just speak to that quickly?
For the applicant, John David Rose, architect, 596 Hampton Road. just recently brought onto this project, and they asked me, what could we do to help remove some of the variances requested? It's my understanding we've cut them in half. The two big things is the dormer to the east. You may recall that that was put on for purely symmetrical reasons. And this house, can you bring up the very first photo? Because I think that picture's worth 1,000 words, where you show the before your first application and then the proposed. There you go.
Oops, sorry.
That was it. There you go.
Is that, nope, it's this one, right? There.
I'm afraid to go. Yes,
No,
that's good.
there you go.
So the two on the left is the existing, we're all familiar with it. The one on the right, and I'm gonna go over it for one moment and just point, it's these two dormers here. And the fact is you don't see that building straight on. It's behind the hedges. You see it coming from the east or coming from the west. So the symmetry really wasn't important. What was important that it would be balanced, but it didn't have to be a symmetrical building. So we said if by eliminating that dormer altogether, which was basically cosmetic, we cut out a fair amount of the request. And then the dormer on the right, it was really a question of if you lowered a little bit, it's my understanding we eliminated another variance. And if you change the material a little bit, it softens it a little. So that was really the approach that we took here. And I think it's worked quite well. If you, I'm going to go to the screen again, you take a look at this here, and it's fine. I'm not missing this dormer at all. And this one is much softer over there because of a change materials. If I can answer any questions?
Do you have any questions, Joyce?
No, I don't think so.
Julia or Susan, do you have any questions?
No, I refuse, I can see that house, when you're at the corner of Gin and First Neck, you can see the front of the house clearly, which is completely lit up, so putting more glass in, can someone explain why that's an improvement, other than to say so?
I was speaking more to the fact that we didn't need the symmetry. I'm gonna have to have Mike talk about the glass, but certainly you can see it when you're much further away. But
I can see it plenty.
Right,
and
but
I
I'm
walk
still
around
maintaining.
Agawam every day.
Right, and I understand
And I
that.
drive on that street, so I don't think there's anything invisible about this house. I think it's not the fault of the owner. He bought what there was, which was too tall, and I don't know about the lighting, but there's nothing subtle about this in its placement in the district, that's all.
Understood, but I think we could all agree that by removing the one dormer, we've reduced the massing of the building. No variance.
We're not the ARG, so I'm hesitant to mention what I.
No, that's
how
fine.
it look. That's not my job.
Understood.
No, but I have to say that making these changes isn't this gonna now have to go back to the ARB?
Yes, it will.
Yes.
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 Does any other board members have questions?
Any of the comments that we made when this was last in front of us was that we had understood and been told on more than one occasion through the many months of review that there was an interior to the house option for putting in an elevator. And that's what we would be learning about today, and that would be what was causing the lessening of the request. But in fact, that isn't the case at all. It's just been shielded some, correct? Is that what everybody else is seeing?
I'm not seeing where the elevator is, by the way. Do you see it? They're just, every picture, everything, I think, obfuscates what we're talking about, as far as I can tell.
So I can, if my screen can go back to, I don't know if they can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
You can. So if you see where my pointer is, that is the elevator right there. That is the area where the elevator will ride up and down.
How come
Can-
you're seeing it, Julia, but we're not seeing it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mike, just
Yay,
tell me what
finally.
page you're on, and I can look at it here.
It's on page 2.
It is being screen shared. Charles, is there a way that you can show it on the screen in the boardroom?
It's pretty much not, to me, that's not really clear enough. It's a time, I don't know why that would be considered easy for us to see, but do it.
Well, this is where it's located, and to go back to the point about the interior option, we again took a look at that, and we've submitted to the board in regards to that 2 budgets that were done in regards to that. In order to accomplish, because of the, let me start with this. Because of the way the floors are done, there's tension concrete that's used on both the floors. So in order to cut that, and because it's striated both ways, we submitted a letter dated November 7th, 2022 from Silman Engineers, which describes the difficulties in doing that. We've also submitted a narrative from Austin Patterson Diston regarding the option studies that were done in regards to putting the elevator elsewhere. We've also submitted from Merit Builders 2 budgets. One would be undertaking to do an interior elevator and putting it through. That budget, which is budget option B, came in at $2.47 million. And option C, which is what we're currently proposing, the budget proposed by Merit Builders is $1.16 million. So there's well over $1.3 million worth of difference between having the elevator as proposed as opposed to attempting to do a interior elevator. And that's putting aside all of the things that we discussed in the previous hearing in regards to what the interior elevator would do to the flow of the architecture of the interior of the building. So it's not that we haven't looked at an interior elevator option. It's that it's...
The cost is not something that the zoning board actually is asked to take into account. So while I appreciate all the work that was done on that, because of course you have to consider it, it isn't something that we take into consideration as well.
Actually, I believe you actually,
Yeah, I think that
you
the
can
language would
and
be,
need to.
what, feasible?
Well, I did one of the
So wait,
state...
let me just,
Okay,
so
go ahead.
what's the standard? Whether there's another feasible?
Right.
Could we read the standard?
I would have to pull it up, but whether or not there's another alternative, a feasible alternative in order to proceed in the absence of a variance.
Okay, so we're just, is then the question whether feasible means
You can, the
you
board,
can do it, but it would cost in there $1.3 million, so it's not feasible.
The board
Was
is
that- I don't mean to summarize what your argument.
No, I mean,
is, but
it's
basically-
$1.3 million is $1.3 million. That's an enormous difference in cost.
So I'm just trying to put it in the context of our guidelines. That would be our determination, whether or not it's still feasible, even though it costs another $1.3 million. Are you with me, Julia?
Julia did some training and mentioned to me that they were told
Yeah.
that the financial, both, the two of you who did the training, could you explain, please?
Yeah, so we did the state
Okay.
training
Mm-hmm.
the other day, and they did say cost to the client was not one of the deciding factors for us. But the language that you just cited, Mark, probably even simplifies it into, is there another feasible alternative? I think what might be helpful, Michael, is just run down the 5 points for us from your view.
Well, I mean, it's straight. We have an applicant here who has a medical necessity. We've submitted to the board affidavit from his doctor saying he has a medical necessity that he should avoid traversing stairs, and that an elevator would help him in occupying all levels of this home
So you're talking about like benefit to the applicant
versus detriment to the neighborhood.
Okay.
So
Michael, when did he buy this house? We did this the last time.
he bought this house. He bought this
Yeah.
house, I believe, 2.5 years ago.
All right, keep going.
So the detriment to the neighborhood, when we talked about detriment to the neighborhood, a more expansive project than what is already currently proposed here was found to be consistent with the historic district by the Architecture Review Board, who is tasked with that. We've now narrowed and shrunk what's being proposed, and we'll have to go back to the ARB. But when you've shrunk what's being proposed, it's going to be hard pressed to find that it's less consistent with the historical district.
Okay.
We have support of the neighbors. So when you talk about support of when you talk about detriment to the neighborhood, you talk about the neighbors. We have submitted to the board from neighbors on both the east and the west as to their support for this project as proposed. So there's no detriment to the neighborhood, and the benefit weighed against the benefit to our client, who will then have access to unfettered access to all 2.5 levels of his home.
So there's no perceived detriment to the immediate neighbors.
Not only is there no detriment, they're supportive of the project.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's not.
That doesn't represent the community as a whole, but we can agree that
Correct.
the immediate neighbors are supportive.
Yes.
Continue, please.
And then you get into, is this a minimum of what, can it be done in a feasible manner without the need of a variance? And we would posit to the board that no, it can't be. That when you talk about doing an interior option, which the board had discussed last time,
Yep.
the price tag of $1.4 million more makes it unfeasible. And there's no reason to make it that way. And
Except that
second,
it is feasible from a construction standpoint to create a design that doesn't need variances.
yes, but from a practical, and you have to remember it's a practical test, and it needs to be practicable. And here, not only would the interior option be $1.3 million more expensive, it also there's a longer distance, and it defeats the purposes by which the addition is being proposed to do that interior option. And let me just bring that up so I can show you. If you see where the gentleman's standing, and I don't know if you, it's not sharing here, but I don't know if the board members who are remote can see. If we did an interior option where the interior option was proposed, it would require moving the option all the way over here. So you basically, anyone would have to walk from, if I just may, from the parking court, which is located here, an additional halfway across the house in order to utilize and access the elevator. And then that defeats the purpose of having it accessible and making it available to someone with a mobility impairment.
Well, it seems to suggest that the client is only going to be going directly to his bedroom. Like, if he goes up the elevator, regardless of where the entrance to that elevator is, he's still going to be making use of the entirety of his house. So the extra 50 feet he has to walk to the elevator entrance is really not germane to the conversation about the total use of his home.
It's not the total use of his home, but it's also accessing the home. Accessing the home. If the normal person, leaves and comes home, 3-4 times a day. Again, you're asking this mobility impaired person to then traverse an extra half the width of the house in order to gain access to the house.
Okay, go. Please continue.
So, in addition, there's no detriment to the neighbors. Then you get into whether or not what variance is this the minimum variance required? And as we've gone through this process and we listened to the board, we believe we've come back with a variance that's much minimized from what we originally proposed. And we probably rightfully withdrew that application because now we've come back with a better application to the board that greatly reduces the number of variances we need and the extent of those variances.
Got it.
Okay.
So let me ask this question,
Please.
So I think the context is that it's the perception of many board members that the house is already oversized. But my question has to do with, in the context of it being oversized, can we ask the architect what is the gross floor area of this house?
We're under the gross floor area. I don't know what the number exactly is.
Right. So
we're not requesting a gross floor
I
area
know you're not
variance.
requesting it. I'm asking, could we have an architect certify the current GFA of this house as built?
We can try to provide that. We can't provide it this evening, but I can ask about that.
Right.
Well, you know, John, do you mind taking the podium, please? You've examined the plans front to back at this point, I'm
Yes.
sure.
Yes.
And you're familiar with the code related to what a half-story
Right.
versus a full story is.
Sure.
In your long-standing professional opinion,
You're
having
saying I'm old,
designed
right?
half the houses in this village beautifully, do you think that top story is a half story?
Yeah, I would call it a half story. Obviously, I didn't design the building.
I'm
I've
not
never been
blaming you for
No,
the
no, no,
design
no,
of
no.
this
And
building.
I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying I
Yeah.
haven't. I haven't been to the house. I've only looked at documents.
Yeah.
I believe it meets the requirement of the rule of a half story, but I haven't run the numbers on it for that
Yeah.
reason. Quite frankly, I wasn't
Yeah.
brought in for that.
Right.
You know, I was brought in to see where else we could put an elevator, and if it has to be here, how can we reduce the impact?
Sure.
And if I could just add, I'm going a little on a tangent if that's
Go
okay. One of the things that's a little different about this house is that the stairs are not stacked,
Right.
which in almost every home I've ever done, we've always stacked them. So if you were willing to rip out the stair and put an elevator, you could wrap the stair around. There's all sorts of cool things one could do to do that. In this case, they're on opposite sides of the house. So in order to put an elevator in an internal spot, because I thought the same thing. Then when I saw the plan, it's like, well, the elevator will come through the middle of a room over here, and it really physically doesn't work.
Right, the master suite has a staircase, a stair run that is different
Yep, that's
from
right.
the first 3 floors
One's
of
on
the
the east
house.
side and one's on the west.
Yes.
And quite frankly, this probably isn't how I would do it, but that's how it is now.
Yep.
And then, just to hammer home a little bit further, I read through the report, and the engineer's report makes it very clear that it's a post-tension slab in both directions. I initially thought it was in one direction.
Right.
Because when it's in one direction, as you know, you can get in there and cut some holes, but it's in both directions.
Yep.
So the minute you start poking holes in this slab, it's not easy.
See, I agree with you there, and they did include the engineering drawings, but I didn't see the hole actually cutting through any of the tensioned rods.
So in that stair location,
Yes.
you'd be cutting, because each floor is post-tensioned, you'd be
Right.
cutting through a couple of floors.
Cutting through the floors for sure, and cutting through rebar for sure, but not cutting through, and I could be wrong on this, the drawing was not totally clear, it's been scanned a couple times, it looks like. It didn't, I couldn't see, when they mentioned a certain number of grid lines,
Yes.
I couldn't see where that proposal, internal proposal, would actually be cutting through the tensioned rods.
Right. So I've been told that it has, and then I would need to talk to the engineer
Yeah.
about it, because it's really
Yeah.
not my expertise.
Sure,
That's a
Okay.
good question.
okay. But you agree that it is feasible
And
to,
as you know, in this world, anything's feasible.
yes,
But the mess that one would make, it's pretty extreme.
It is.
I would never recommend it.
is this where you would have put the,
Yeah, it is. We looked at it everywhere.
right,
As we all know, it should have been there in the first place,
sure,
but it wasn't. And I think it makes sense here. It really does.
okay.
I mean, the circulation when you come in with a car and the distance to travel out to get to the elevator.
Right,
I get all that.
right. Okay,
Thank you.
cool. Thanks.
So what should we do? Adjourn for all purposes for now? And
Can I clarify something about the code real quick before we adjourn?
of course, yeah, and we're going to see if any neighbors want to speak to this, and I don't want to interrupt your presentation. I already stepped on one of your arguments, so I apologize. But what's your question, Alex?
Oh, sure. I just wanted to clarify for the board that height, as you know, is regulated in two ways via the pyramid law and the height requirement, and both are treated differently on elevated buildings. The change in the pyramid law from 45 to 33 degrees was done, I believe, the code says in 2015, and my understanding is that applies to all elevated buildings. It's the height requirement that was changed at the beginning of 2022. And that lowered the height requirement on elevated buildings. And that's the part of the code that makes a distinction between narrow lots and further regulates the height in narrow lots.
And this is the narrowest lot on that street.
Okay, thank you, Alex.
Yeah, no problem.
Other than the GFA issue, does the board have additional information that they'd be requesting?
No, for me, if I look at the plans that were initially submitted for the building when it was first built, and you look at the cross sections, especially to the east and the west access, and the southern dormer, to me, it's very, very difficult to make an argument for them being half stories.
That was litigated. That was litigated at the time this building was built, and it was taken up on appeal, and it was determined it was a half story. So it is a half story. That has already been litigated.
Yeah.
Litigated by whom? Where?
Litigated by the village and the prior property owner.
Yeah.
Where are those documents?
They
were in the building file. That's where I accessed them.
Yeah, if we could get a look at them, I think that would be helpful because it's been a few months, so I don't want to start spouting out numbers, but when I did review it in your previous application, the plate heights did seem to me to rise above the threshold for half stories. I agree completely that the most northern dormer, which is, I guess, the master closet, would be considered a half story, or I'd just consider it a dormer itself. But the majority of that fourth floor, especially the east-west.
Majority of the
top floor, fourth
yeah.
floor, yeah, fourth level. Certainly to me has plate heights that appeared higher than the village code's definition. And I'm sure John can corroborate that.
Putting aside the fact that it was litigated, we also received an updated CO at the time that we purchased the property, and that was not raised, and nothing in the current proposal changes that calculus as it goes forward.
Right, I agree, and I'm sure it's frustrating to hear us hammering on about this when you think it's not part of the application. But I think some of us share the opinion that you do need a GFA variance for this property.
Well, it's possible.
It's possible,
but we'll see.
And we
the building department, we submitted our plans to the building department.
Yeah.
We received the denial letter. The three variances we're here before you tonight are the three variants we're requesting. If for some reason we were to go back, and if this board were to grant us a variance and we were to go to the ARB and get an amendment to our previous approval, right, for the plan that's before this board right now. For some reason, if the building department were to determine that we would need some further relief in order to build this project, we'd be back in front of this board.
Sure.
So.
Is this where the half story is?
this is the ocean, this is meadow, right? This ridge here has full height plates, as does this. These ridges here are much lower, right? So you have this whole portion. To me, my interpretation of the code is a full story height.
Right, that's, okay.
Yeah,
Right.
that's not
So
necessarily.
we're on the same page.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the
Yeah.
floor plans and saying the same thing.
So I have nothing else to add to this. I mean, John, probably go back and look at watch the previous application videos and see what you think.
Alex, if there's paperwork in perhaps you could share it, if there's paperwork in the building department with respect to, was it actual lawsuit litigation?
There was actual litigation.
Okay, we'd love to.
But, yeah, I don't know that the building department keeps copies of litigation. I'd have to see what we have available. That may be something that's on file with the.
There's definitely some in the building department file, because that's where I accessed it.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I mean, Mark, does it change the calculus for you at all? Are we prepared to just close for all purposes?
No, I was gonna adjourn for all purposes, because
Okay.
we still have some information I would like to see.
Okay.
It sounds like you're willing to provide.
I'll have to discuss it. I'll have to discuss it with the property owner, and with the architect team, and what the calculation is for the GFA.
Okay.
I know you understand that it was frustrating for us to have asked for that last time, and then to receive a letter from the architect of record certifying the figures that were on their permit set of drawings when we had specifically asked for as-built calculations. So it seemed like a bit of a swerve, and then we tried, Alex or our attorney tried to reach out to them and understand that you asked them to not speak to us further about that. So we're sensitive to that.
It's fine, but this is also a public hearing that has to be conducted with a full record. And as the applicants, we are allowed to put into the record what we see fit, and we are allowed to to come to the board and put forward our application. So if it was more cautious on our part, and it wasn't don't speak to anyone, it was more of a control thing, because when you have someone who has engaged a team to put together something, we want to make sure that we're speaking to the board, so there's no in one voice, so there's no misconception as that goes. But I understand.
I understand. Yeah, that's a good strategy for you, because at many times it seems as if the guys at APD were saying something slightly different from what we were hearing, from you. And you have to agree that it leaves us with the impression that there may be information that you don't want us to know, because it's a pretty simple request to ask for as-built GFA.
That's fine, but there's also there's no reason to debate this. We'll take it back to our team. I understand. I understand the board's point of view, and I understand where your possible frustrations with wanting a as much information as possible in order to make a determination.
Listen, I'm not frustrated.
Oh,
Yeah. It's just I'm trying to help.
Frustrated was a word you said, not
I could see how you would be frustrated. I'm trying to help you give us the information that will help us make a good decision on this.
Understood, and that's one of the reasons why I started out that we actually went back and we actually listened to what the board said, and that's in large part what drove this application that you currently have before you tonight.
I don't think there's any debate that this request is less than the previous request.
And is improved.
Great.
Okay, so why don't we motion to adjourn? Oh, first of all, is there anybody from the public who wishes to be heard? Is there anybody online? Okay, so why don't we motion to, I'll motion to adjourn for all purposes. Case number 3153, Smithtown Partners, 40 Meadow Lane. Can I have a second?
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then, Alex, unless you have something, I'm going to motion to close the public hearing of the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Yeah, that's fine. Close the hearing part. I just have two questions for the board in work session.
Okay. Is that okay?
Yes.
So we'll motion to close the public hearing. Can I have a second? Did we lose Julie and Susan? Can I have a
I'm
second?
gonna go out, I don't know what's going on. Why are we having a work session?
Right now, we're just closing the public hearing.
Okay, I second the motion to
Okay.
close the meeting.
All in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.